Right now, China is running a $10 billion black market operation that's making a mockery of US chip sanctions. And the worst part? The White House has no idea how to stop it. These aren't just any chips, they're the same NVIDIA GPUs and TSMC processors the US banned to cripple China's AI ambitions. Yet, they're flooding into the country through a web of shell companies, fake labels, and underground factories. If this keeps up, China's tech sector won't just survive it, LL thrive. And that could change the balance of power in the semiconductor war forever. Today, we're exposing the shadowy network behind this operation, how it's outsmarting US restrictions, and what it means for the future of global tech dominance. Buckle up, this is the untold story of China's smuggled chip empire. Let us start with the basics. In 2026, the US has some of the strictest semiconductor export controls in history. NVIDIA SA100 and H100 GPUs? Banned. TSMC's most advanced 3nm and 5nm chips? Banned. Even older tech like Intel's Xeon processors face heavy restrictions. The goal? To starve China's AI and military sectors of the computing power they need to compete. But here's the problem, China isn't starving. In fact, it's feasting. According to intelligence reports, China's black market for smuggled chips has ballooned to a staggering $10 billion, double what it was just 2 years ago. And the chips aren't just trickling in, they're pouring in by the tens of thousands. So how is this happening? The answer lies in a three-pronged strategy: diversion, disguise, and domestic production. First, diversion. US chipmakers are required to track their products, but loopholes are everywhere. A common tactic? Shipping chips to friendly countries like Malaysia, Vietnam, or even the UAE, where they're repackaged and relabeled as industrial equipment or server parts. From there, they're sent to Hong Kong or Shenzhen, where customs officials often bribed or pressured look the other way. In 2025, US officials intercepted a single shipment of 12,000 NVIDIA GPUs disguised as agricultural machinery. That's just one shipment. Multiply that by hundreds, and you start to see the scale of the problem. But diversion is just the first step. The real genius of China's operation is disguise. Smugglers aren't just slapping new labels on boxes, they're reverse engineering chips to make them look like older, unrestricted models. For example, NVIDIA's SPAN A100 GPU can be modified to mimic the A800, a sanction-friendly version designed for the Chinese market. How? By disabling a few cores or tweaking the firmware. The performance drop is minimal, but the legal loophole is massive. And it's not just NVIDIA. TSMC's 7nm chips, which are restricted, are being rebranded as 14nm or even 28nm chips, older nodes that aren't subject to bans. The process is risky, but the payoff is enormous. A single A100 GPU can sell for $50,000 on the black market, 10 times its retail price. Then there's the third prong, domestic production. China isn't just smuggling chips, it's building its own. In 2026, the country has made massive strides in semiconductor manufacturing, thanks in part to smuggled equipment and talent poaching. Companies like SMIC and Huawei's HiSilicon are producing 7nm chips, and while they're not as advanced as TSMC's, they're good enough for AI training and military applications. The kicker? Much of the equipment used in these factories was smuggled in piece by piece. ASML's extreme ultraviolet (EUV) lithography machines, which are banned from export to China, have been spotted in underground facilities. How? By disassembling them into spare parts and reassembling them on site. It's like building a nuclear reactor out of Lego bricks, complicated, but not impossible. So who's behind this operation? The short answer, everyone. From triads in Hong Kong to state-backed enterprises in Shenzhen, the black market is a sprawling ecosystem. At the top, you have the big three companies like SMUGGLED, Inspur, and Fidium, which are officially sanctioned but still manage to get their hands on US chips. How? By using front companies in third countries. For example, SMUGGLED, a supercomputing firm linked to China's military, has been caught using shell companies in Singapore to purchase NVIDIA GPUs. Then there are the middlemen brokers who operate in the gray zone between legal and illegal. These are the guys who know which customs officials to bribe, which shipping routes to use, and how to launder the money. And at the bottom, you have the ants, small-time smugglers who move a few chips at a time, often hidden in shipments of consumer electronics. But here's where it gets really interesting. The US isn't sitting idly by. In 2026, the Biden administration has ramped up enforcement, creating a new task force called Operation Silicon Shield to track and intercept smuggled chips. The US has also pressured allies like the Netherlands and Japan to tighten their export controls. ASML, the Dutch company that makes EUV machines, now requires special licenses for even basic maintenance on machines in China. And the US has started targeting the financial networks that fund the black market, freezing assets and imposing secondary sanctions on banks that facilitate transactions. But for every smuggling route the US shuts down, China opens 2 more. It's a game of whack-a-mole, and the US is losing. So what does this mean for the future of the semiconductor war? 3 things. First, China's black market is buying it time. Every smuggled chip is a chip that doesn't have to be built domestically. That means China can focus on developing its own advanced nodes without the immediate pressure to match TSMC or Samsung. Second, the US is running out of options. Sanctions are only effective if they're airtight, and right now, they're full of holes. The only way to truly stop the flow is to cut off China's access to the global financial system, but that would risk a full-blown economic war. And third, the black market is accelerating the fragmentation of the global tech industry. Companies like NVIDIA and TSMC are being forced to choose between the US and China, and the result is a world where supply chains are shorter, more localized, and far less efficient. That's bad news for everyone. But here's the kicker: China's black market isn't just about survival, it's about dominance. Every smuggled chip is a step toward self-sufficiency. And if China can perfect its own 3 nanometers or 2 nanometers chips, the US will have lost its most powerful leverage. That's why this $10 billion operation isn't just a problem, it's an existential threat to US tech supremacy. The question is, can the US adapt? Or is it already too late? So what do you think? Is China's black market unstoppable, or can the US find a way to shut it down? And more importantly, what does this mean for the future of AI, military tech, and global power dynamics? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this deep dive eye-opening, smash that like button, subscribe for more insider coverage of the hardware war, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next report. The semiconductor battle is heating up, and this is just the beginning. Stay tuned.